Hi, Maria here. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you fragrances that I feel are perfect for transitioning from the cold to the warmer weather. I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but in Canada, one day it could be like -10 and the next day it could be +3 and you just never know what's coming. So I wanted to pick fragrances like at this time of the year too. You're kind of ready for spring. So I kind of more in the mood for some vibrant, fresh, lighthearted fragrances, but I also want some cozy in there as well. So I wanted to pick fragrances that work for kind of a variety of moods in this transition season. So can't wait to share. But before we get started, if you haven't subscribed, just go ahead and hit that button, join the Weird and Wonderful family. It would be amazing to have you part of the community. And if you're already part of the community, you guys are amazing. You know that. I'm so thankful for you. And let's get started. So the first fragrance that I want to share with you today is La Petite Robe Noire Intense by Guerlain. Now this is, I think, the biggest departure from the La Petite Robe Noire collection because there's no real cherry in this. It is blueberry and cotton candy all the way. It smells somehow still warm because of that blueberry. It's so sweet and airy and delicious. It's very, very sweet, like almost tooth-achingly sweet. So if you're not a sweet fan, steer clear of this. I happen to absolutely love it. It smells like some sort of happy carnival, like I'm eating blueberry cotton candy and dancing around in some sort of pink dress. Like it just makes me happy. So for this time of year, it's great, but because of the warmth from the blueberry, it doesn't feel like it's too light, that it's just going to disappear in kind of cooler weather. This also has raspberry, bergamot, and cassis in the opening. Definitely get a little bit of that bergamot or a little bit of tartness just in the opening. The florals in here are rose, jasmine, and orange blossom. I get a tiny bit of that orange, but overall the florals are just there supporting that beautiful blueberry and cotton candy, in my opinion. In the dry down, you get a little bit more vanilla and a little bit more musk, but this one is rather linear. The longevity on it, about 5 hours. I just think it's a fun fragrance and I love the color of this bottle. Now, next fragrance is definitely more of a heavy hitter, but sometimes you want like a powerhouse fragrance, but you don't want it to be too overpowering. So I really love Badi El Oud Amethyst. Let's just go with Amethyst because Badi El Oud, it's hard to say and I don't know if I'm saying it right. But anyway, this is by Lattafa. Now, this is supposed to be similar to Initio's Atomic Rose. Some of you have weighed in and said that it's nothing like that. This is kind of a jammy rose. Cassi tried this one and she found it to be a little too masculine for her. I don't find it goes too masculine on my skin. What I find is that it's somehow super jammy. So when I smell it, in the opening, what I get is a lot of the bergamot. There's also pink pepper in this. There's rose. There is agar wood or oud, but the oud to me is a little bit softer somehow. What I find with this one that I find kind of interesting is it starts off jammy and I get whiffs of jamminess, but there's also in the deep, deep dry down, almost a metallic rose that comes out. So I find it fascinating, I guess. But to me, although this is a heavy hitter, it's not so overpowering that it wouldn't work through that warmer kind of, as the temperature goes up a little bit, like I'm talking a little bit, this would work great. So really, really, really am enjoying this one. And I'm going to try it throughout the spring just to see how long I can wear it before it becomes too much of the heat. The next one that I feel is great for that transition weather is Love Don't Be Shy by Killian, or I've got the Okcha version, which is Sweet Addict, which is really, really close. The main note that you get is the neroli. So neroli differs from orange blossom. Orange blossom tends to be a little sweeter, a little bit more delicate, I find. Neroli comes across a little bit fresher, a little bit sharper. And it packs a little bit more of a punch, I find. So in the opening, I get that neroli, but for whatever reason, I'm really, really starting to enjoy neroli. I don't know if it's the time of year, because normally I haven't been a huge fan of this, but I sprayed it on the other day and I could not stop sniffing myself. So really, really enjoying this DNA. So it opens with neroli, bergamot, pink pepper, and coriander. And I definitely get that bergamot comes out with that neroli, and the neroli just like literally hits you in the face, in my opinion. Just so you know, I've also tried Love Don't Be Shy, like the actual Killian Love Don't Be Shy. I've got a sample of it, tried it a few times. It smells very, very similar to the Ocha version, but then it has orange blossom, jasmine, honeysuckle, rose, and iris in the heart. I'm definitely getting floral, but that neroli is still the star of the show at that point. As it dries down, you get sugar, vanilla, caramel, musk, civet, and labdanum. So to me, very quickly after the punch in the face of the neroli, you start to get the sugar and the vanilla, and it comes across marshmallowy. So with the orange blossom, with the neroli, with those sugars and the vanilla, it smells like an orange blossom marshmallow. And it smells really quite mouth-watering. Now, the reason why I think this is such a great fragrance for a transitional time is it's a floral, it's a sweeter floral, it's white floral. So there's a classy element to this, but because of that marshmallow component, it feels quite warm. There's a fluffiness to it, and yet it still remains quite classy and sophisticated. So I personally think that I would find Love Don't Be Shy to be too much in the hot weather. So to me, it's perfect for a transition time. So if you want a classy kind of romantic white floral, it's beautiful. Honestly, go with the Ocha version because it's a fraction of the cost and really, really similar. Sometimes Ocha I'm iffy on, but on the Love Don't Be Shy one, I think it's actually a really, really great rendition of the original. Now, for my vanilla lovers, for a transition vanilla, I would go with Note Veni by M. Micallef. Now, this one, I find this to be a very sophisticated, beautiful vanilla. Sometimes I find vanillas to be too heavy and too cloying, too sweet. So I may like them, but I have to be in the mood for them. This is a wonderful vanilla because it's kind of a floral vanilla. It feels a little bit lighter and it's also quite sophisticated. So as much as I love something like a Vanilla Royale Sugar Patchouli or a Sultan Noir, those to me are better in the cooler months or like in an evening, whereas this is a beautiful kind of classy vanilla that could be worn during the day. So it opens with orange and citrus notes, and I definitely get that in the opening. There's floral notes in jasmine in the heart, and then the base has vanilla, rum, cognac, amber, and sandalwood. So I don't really notice the booziness until kind of the dry down, and it just smells like a decadent kind of Madagascar type vanilla. With those boozy notes in it. Definitely get the florals and the citrus, so it keeps it from getting cloying. There's a slight powdery component to this, but what the powdery feels like to me is just kind of a soft airiness. So it reminds me of, like, just imagine a room that's full of light and there's curtains. They're a little bit sheer, so the light's kind of coming through and there's a breeze coming in. That's the feel that this fragrance gives me. It's kind of a breezy vanilla because of those citruses that are in there. So I think it's really pretty. It lasts a decent amount of time on the skin, like at least 6 hours. And as far as vanillas are concerned, I would say that this is one of the more sophisticated vanillas actually that I've smelt. And it's not like your typical in the face. So Un Bois Veni, it's very sophisticated as well. There's lots of different notes in it, but it comes across so sickeningly sweet to me. Like, I still like it, but I need to be in the mood. This is just a beautifully balanced, slightly powdery vanilla that's kind of more delicate and a little bit more fresh because of the balance of those citruses in there. So definitely worth getting your nose on it. Next fragrance that I think is perfect for transition weather is Because It's You by Giorgio Armani. Now, I just have a sample of this, but it's definitely on my wish list. This is a syrupy, boozy raspberry. I would say it's one of the best raspberry fragrances that I've smelled, honestly. It's absolutely decadently delicious. I think it's discontinued, but you can still get it on the gray market sites. I'll have it all linked down below. It goes syrupy, sweet, decadent, luscious on my skin, quite sensual. It's not a bright raspberry. It's more of a syrupy raspberry. It's a little darker. That said, in the kind of cooler transitioning to warmer weather, this would really, really play well. It's just fantastic. Fantastic raspberry fragrance. Highly, highly recommend this one. Now, another more classy fragrance that I think is perfect for the transition weather is L'Interdit by Givenchy. Now, this is just the EDP. I love saying L'Interdit EDP by Givenchy. Yes, this is so beautiful. It's pear, it's tuberose, it's classy, it's sensual, it's sophisticated, very feminine. There's a syrupy quality. I definitely get a lot of that pear in there, but also a lot of that bubblegum tuberose. This is also quite vanillic, but it's not a vanilla. It's definitely more of a tuberose pear fragrance. I think it's absolutely gorgeous and definitely works well going from cooler into the spring. Definitely don't wear this in the summer. It's just too potent. Next fragrance that is a little bit more warmer in its composition is Cassi by Perfumes de Marly. This is such a gorgeous fragrance. It's peachy, it's creamy. I always think of it as slightly peachy somehow, probably because of the color of the bottle, but there's literally no peach in it. So it has red currant, floral notes, and rose in the opening. In the heart is frangipani, plum, petalia, and mimosa. And then the base has vanilla, tonka bean, and sandalwood. So a ton of florals, and to me, it doesn't come across super florally. It comes across kind of delicate, creamy somehow. Like it does have a lactonic feel to me. It gives me kind of, not peaches and cream, like that would be too much because there's a bit of tartness in this fragrance, but kind of a little bit like slight peachy apricot vibe underneath, kind of like almost like maybe like an apricot yogurt or a peach yogurt. So there's a little bit of tartness in there, but a little bit of a lactonic feel. That's kind of what I get balanced with some of those beautiful florals. Although to me, it smells more fruity, creamy than a floral. So kind of an interesting fragrance. I find it very warm. Any sort of fruit like peach, plum, blueberries, those feel very warm and sensual to me. So this one is definitely more day appropriate. It's a lighter fragrance and the longevity isn't phenomenal on it at all, but it is a very beautiful fragrance. So I think it would be perfect for as it's warming up and you want something a little bit more cheery yet creamy. Cassi. Next fragrance, I thought about putting this in my spring video, but I think it actually works really good as a transition fragrance, and that is Quatra en Rose by Boucheron. Now, first of all, can we just talk about how gorgeous this bottle is? Like, I love these Boucheron bottles. They're so beautiful. And I love the fact that this one is frosted glass. Like, it's so pretty. So this one has some similarities to C by Giorgio Armani. Now, I prefer this one over C. C somehow has never done it for me, but this one I really, really enjoy. So when you first spray this, what you get is bergamot and the rose. So you get that kind of watery rose feel with the bright kind of citrus, as in the original. But then as this one dries down, the Artemisia and the black currant come out. Black currant, it smells juicy and delicious. The Artemisia gives it a little bit of greenness. As this dries down, you get a little bit more vanilla and the rose coming out. It's sweeter than the original Quatra for sure, and it does smell similar to C. So if you love C, or if you have C, you might not want to get it, but if you don't love C, you might want to try this one as well. I like it better than C. There's somehow a little bit of a spiciness or a depth in this that I don't get in the original C. So really, really enjoy this one, and it is more affordable. Definitely recommend this one for kind of that transition, whether, you know, you could wear this one in the spring as well. But in the transitioner, like with the coolerness, the sweetness in this one really works well. Now I saved my favorite transition fragrance for the last. This is a new discovery for me. I had never smelt this one before, and I am in love with it. Like deep, deep, massive love with it. And it is Aqua de Parma's Mandorlo di Sicilia. This is freaking amazing. I can't even tell you how much I love this. I'm going to start by reading the notes before I tell you what I think it smells like. In the top, it has green almond, star anise, orange, and bergamot. In the heart, it has white peach, ylang ylang, and jasmine. And then the base has bourbon vanilla, tolu balsam, white musk, and cedar. Those notes sound amazing. It sounds like it would smell kind of sunshiny, solar, peachy, whatever, right? This smells just like root beer. Like, I'm going to spray it on because I'm absolutely in love with it. It smells like root beer, but what it smells like I'm not usually a fan of root beer. Like if it goes root beery, like I like L'Interdit Rouge, this smells nothing like that. So L'Interdit Rouge goes slightly root beer to me. This to me smells just like, honestly, the root beer lip smacker that I used to use when I was a kid. Like it was a big fat lip smacker, smelled like root beer. I can't even speak. I'm so excited. It smelled like root beer, but somehow light, slightly citrus root beer. And I loved putting that lip smacker on. Like my lips were like literally glistening in root beer goodness. And I basically wanted to lick my lips off because I loved the smell of that. And this to me smells just like that. So what's cool about this is root beer to me is a warm smell. This, because of the bergamot, I think, is a slightly fresher, airier root beer. Almost as if it was root beer and cream, or like a root beer float somehow, but not that creamy. I just think it's amazing. I don't know what it is about this, but I just find it addictive and warm and sensual, but fun at the same time. Like seriously, it's so amazing. And I found it lasted a long time. My husband loved the smell of this. It just smells good. Like when you know, you know. Like it just somehow smells amazing. So I don't know if you've tried this. If you have, weigh in. To me, it smells like delicious root beer without any heaviness. It smells like root beer air somehow. Like if you're in some sort of happy fantasy world, you're by the ocean and somehow you go and you smell root beer air. Somehow that's what this is. Like it's so good. I don't get it, but I love it. So anyway, this was the first Aqua de Parma I think I've smelled, and definitely love it. Mandorlo di Sicilia by Aqua de Parma, definitely a major hit. Perfect for this transitioning weather. The other thing I found about this one is it was just so energizing and happy. Like happy. It was really wonderfully happy. Oh dear. Okay, sometimes I get myself so hyped up that I need to calm down. But anyway, love this fragrance. It's so happy. It's so vivacious. It's somehow light and airy, yet still warm and cheery. It's just happiness in a bottle to me. It smells like my tween years. If you've smelt those root beer lip smackers from the 80s, and you've smelled this, tell me if you think it smells like that. I just love it. And yeah, it lasted. I've heard that the Aqua de Parmas don't last that long, but I actually found this to be really quite long lasting. So if you are interested in kind of a root beery type scent profile, or if you love that, you really do need to sniff this. I can see that it wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea, but it's definitely my cup of tea, like big time my cup of tea. And so that is it. Those are my beautiful transition to spring fragrances. So glad the weather's warming up. These have just enough cheeriness that it makes me think of spring, but still work in the kind of cooler times. Project nicely, and I'm in love with all of them. So what about you? What are your transition fragrances? I would love to know, and so would everybody else. Please weigh in on the fragrances that I've listed. Tell me what your thoughts are. It's always helpful to the community. And other than that, I hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk to you soon.